Welcome to Business Success Tips, where we can learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm Paul Sanneman, the founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help clients build great teams in construction. I'm with my guest today, Chuck Kile from Adapt Digital Solutions, and he's going to tell us all kinds of cool stuff about how to get more business. So, Chuck, tell them about yourself, your background, your backstory, so people know why they should listen to you versus somebody else.
Okay. So like you said, my name is Chuck. Adapt Digital Solutions is my marketing company. I'm also the owner of Kile Construction, remodeling company in North Idaho. And, people can listen to my stuff and decide whether or not they should listen to it. How I got into this was I needed to figure out how to get customers for my own construction company. And so I went down the same paths everyone else does and tried a bunch of things and spent a bunch of money, and most things didn't work. But eventually I found some traction and started assembling a team. And over the years, we've just started doing it for other people. And at this point, we've worked with thousands of contractors. And so, it's the way that I see local lead generation and acquiring customers is it's pretty common sense to me. The way that I understand it is pretty simple. And so I try to put it in simple terms. So hopefully that comes out during this podcast.
Okay, great. So let's say someone has, I'm going to pick a number, a $3 million modeling company, and they're in Idaho or someplace like you, right? In fact, I should ask, how do you do it? Because the question would be, everybody's looking for quality leads, and there's a, cost of leads. There's a whole thing. We should use SEO and build brand. Somebody else, you should use, pay-per-click and use, Google, what it preferred, whatever it is nowadays. So there's a lot of confusion, I think, around what works and what doesn't work. So obviously your company has grown and worked. What have you used that works and hasn't worked?
Sure. So I've tried a lot of things that haven't worked. So I'm not going to go too far down that path. But, most of our customers are referrals and repeat business. And the new customers that come into our business or our ecosystem, almost all of them come from Google. So
Okay.
we have a Google Maps listing. We have a website, just basic setup. It looks professional. We get reviews, and that's how most people find us.
Okay. What do you think of the budget? How much should one spend as a portion of their growth? Should they spend it on SEO and building brand? Should they spend it on pay-per-click? Where's the best use of your money that you found out?
Well, we always start by looking at the website and the Google listing. We call that the foundation, because you could be running ads. You could be getting referrals. If somebody's referred to your company, a lot of them are going to go to Google and type in the name of your business. And if they don't find anything, that doesn't look good. Or if they find a website that looks, janky or unprofessional, that could hurt you. And so no matter where people are finding you, they're going to go look at your online presence. So we always start there, whether you're one man show who's just starting, or you've been in business forever and you're doing millions of dollars. There's multi-million-dollar companies that don't have a website still. And so when they come to us, that's still where we start and we look at it. Once that's in place, you should be getting some kind of traction. You should be getting some customers if you have a good online presence. And hopefully you're getting referrals. If you're not, that's kind of a red flag. At that point, you really should do your best to be tracking whatever you are getting. If you're getting 3 leads a month, where are they coming from? How many of them turn into sales? Build up some data, because, even if you're just had a website built, that was money in, you're going to get leads through it. You're going to get customers through it, and you can calculate what your ROI was on those. When it comes to running ads and doing the kind of marketing where you're looking at directly at that ROI all the time, you can start with a percentage, but I think it's in as little time as possible. You want to get to the point where you are getting feedback about what you're doing. So if you're spending $5,000 a month on ads, you want to know how many leads you're getting, how many calls it takes to reach those leads, how many you actually talk to, how many bids you're doing, how many jobs you're winning, how much money you're making from those jobs. You want all these numbers, because once you start having your own numbers to work with, you can stop looking at what everybody else does and just focus on what you're doing. And if those numbers are working for you and you're putting money in and you're getting more money out and you're happy with that, that's awesome. You can invest more in that and get more out. And hopefully you can continue making those numbers improve. But where I find a lot of people are is, they might try this or that and they don't track it very closely. And so maybe it works a little bit, maybe it doesn't, but they don't know how well it's working. And so they go off their feelings and they don't really get anywhere. So
Okay.
hopefully that
Now,
answers the question.
I've looked at a lot of websites. Everybody sort of has a generic website, our process, about us, what we do. Is there anything that someone can do to make their website look a little different than everybody else's? Because they're sort of like the classic, remodeling website. It has an about us, has some pictures, has a process, has a couple testimonials, and it sort of like looks like everybody else's website. Is there anything you can make your different, or just that's just the way websites are in remodeling?
No, 100%. If you have a remodeling company and you do kitchens and bathrooms, you're likely not the only one in your area doing it. There's probably 20 different companies doing the same thing. So what
Right.
makes your company different is you. It's the people at the company. And so, when we build websites for our clients, we really push them to be okay putting their picture on the front page. We will do Zoom calls like we're doing now, and we'll record them, and we'll just ask our clients to talk about their business. In your opinion, what's the best room in the house to remodel? When you're remodeling a kitchen, like what kind of countertops you prefer? Just get them talking about anything, get them asserting some opinions, get them talking about why they do what they do, what their background is, just all the things that make them unique. And then we put that on their website. And so for their customers, when they hit that website, okay, they do kitchen remodels in my city. Cool. Got that out of the way. The next thing people want to know is who am I dealing with here? And if you can show them a couple pictures, show them who you are, build a little bit of trust. I mean, I've had a bunch of clients at my remodeling company tell me like, hey, we were comparing you with another company for a year. We had your website. We ultimately chose you because we liked your website. And if you go to our website, we've got pictures of us. We talk about ourselves. We make it clear we do the remodeling stuff, but we show them who we are. And ultimately that's what wins us business.
So in that case, are videos better than pictures?
Oh, videos are great. Yeah, absolutely. If you can make videos, they don't even have to be good. Like, just show people who you are.
Okay. So, and they could do that. I guess you could hire a videographer or do it on your iPhone, but I think somebody like you. So I guess what you're telling me is you're trying to establish some kind of relationship between you and the client even before you meet them, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, especially in remodeling, it's a very high trust situation. If you're unclogging sinks, maybe people care less about the person coming. It doesn't mean that it doesn't help to show them. But with remodeling, people definitely want to know you and vet you.
Okay. So what do you think? I've probably heard this before. Is there a good number for a budget for marketing, and where should one spend it between SEO and your website as well as pay-per-click? There's a whole bunch of, I've done several interviews with marketing companies, and there's definitely a wide spread on where you should spend your money. I'm just curious, what's your opinion?
Yeah, well, everybody's situation's different. So, where they are financially, do they need customers this month or they're going bankrupt, or are they in it for the long game and they're actually booked out for a year? Like, everyone's in a different spot. What I try to do when I sit down with people to discuss this is figure out, I can look at their market and look at their competitors on Google and get an idea of how well they'll do. But I go through the numbers with them. So it's like, okay, if you invest $10,000 in your marketing, how many customers do you need to pay for that? And try to establish some numbers here, and then look at the likelihood and the timeline of how long it's going to take to get those customers. I like to focus on the organic foundational side of marketing because most companies I come across just don't have that really locked down. So I love focusing there because, we had one guy, a remodeler in Chicago's got 170 plus leads organically through his website in like the last 10 months.
Wow.
So like that's pretty profound, impactful for him. We could have run Google ads and maybe got half that many leads, but it would have
Mhm.
cost him 20 times as much and the leads wouldn't have been as high a quality. So
Right.
I don't like to throw out numbers because everybody's situation is different. I think what's more important than trying to find out a marketing budget from someone else is to look at your own business and figure out what makes sense for you and like what do you need to get out of it in order for it to be worth it, because that most people do it without knowing that, and so when they get some kind of results they don't have any way to really judge it.
When unless you've been in business a while, you've gotten referrals, you've gotten a website, and some people, in my experience, don't even know where it's coming from. They get people come to their website, they refer somebody, but I guess the question is, how do you get those new people that, you know, that don't know you, that aren't referrals, that how do they come across you? How do they find you? Is it just Google? Is that the major way people find other people?
Yeah, it's got to be like over 90% of people, if they don't have a referral or anything, they're going to Google to find what they're looking for.
Okay. And then when they search Google, is it all about keywords? Is it about being on the front page? Is it about, once you get on the front page, getting your website to convert? How do those things play in?
Mhm. Yeah, those are good questions. I always try to boil it down to like what's the easiest way to understand this. Because you can talk about keywords and all these technical ranking factors and SEO and all this stuff all day, but like if we back it up a little bit, what is Google? What's their goal? Google is the number one search engine on the planet. Why? Because throughout history, they've shown people the best search results. They've shown people what they're looking for. So Google's goal is to show its customers the best search result. So if you want Google to show you, all you have to do is be the best search result. And a lot of us can figure out what that means just by looking at websites and talking to our customers and thinking about it through their eyes. Well, how do I make my website as good as it can possibly be for my customers? If you do nothing but do that, you'll probably do pretty well on Google, because Google every day gets better and better at understanding what people like and what gives them a good experience. So if you focus on that, like you'll probably do pretty well. And it comes down to when someone searches, they see you. And when they see you next to a few other companies, who looks the best? So be
So
seen, number one. Number two is have more reviews than your opponents or your competitors, and you'll get the attention first.
is it really critical to be on the first page? After the first page, it doesn't matter. Let's say I'm looking for remodelers in Chicago. Now, I assume you can geofence stuff because Chicago's big, or these big, huge cities. You can say, okay, there's a certain neighborhood in Chicago, a certain neighborhood in these big metropolitan areas where you can rank highly because of your location. Because you can't go for the
Mhm.
whole city. That's not going to work, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
So,
so like in Chicago, for example, we will, in the beginning, we'll always focus on the smallest area possible. Because for most of our clients, if they could fill up their schedule in their neighborhood, then they don't want to drive across town. And
right.
it's a really common mistake to be like, oh, well, we service the whole metro area. And it's like, that's fine. You can work in the whole metro area. But when it comes to being found on Google, if you spread yourself too thin, you're not going to win. But if you focus on a really tight area, you might get Google to look at you as the contractor in that little area. And that's a really good first start. So, you asked, do you always want to be on the front page? Yeah, you do. And luckily for us as local business owners, there's Google Maps as the local search engine, and it works off of proximity first. So if somebody's close to you, you have a higher likelihood of showing up number one on their page. And so that's the lowest hanging fruit, is to try to show up for the people that are close by.
And what's the procedure for geofencing your Google presence? How do you do that? Is it maps? How to make sure you use addresses? How do they figure that out?
Yeah, so it's all on Google Maps. They call it Google My Business is what they call your listing. But I call it a Google Business listing. And it's really easy. You just, when you select your service area, you just select a little tiny area around you. And you just focus on a tiny area. So it's one setting. And you can make your website more relevant for that area. Like for a little neighborhood in the middle of Chicago, we'll call out the neighborhood on the homepage of the website, and that will help tell Google, hey, like this is the neighborhood that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty simple. It's I wouldn't call it geofencing. It's more of just narrowing what you're telling Google that you want to show up for. And when you are dominating like your little area, then you can start trying to like spread out and get bigger and work
Okay.
your way out. But
And
if you can't
that
show
has to
up,
do with your Google on Google Maps. That has to do with where, like, you put in ABC in Chicago, then they look at the map, and you got to be on the first 4 or 5 people in that map, right?
yeah, you really want to be in the top 3 because Google will only show 3 on the front page.
Okay. So your mission is to get on the front page and Google Maps for your little niche market you're in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you want to be on the front page for the right people. And the reason I say that is because when we measure the results of these marketing efforts, we look at the number of phone calls and leads coming in. Because a lot of people get really, really focused on, oh, when I Google myself, I'm not showing up number 1. And they're like, oh, it's not working. But the phone ringing is what's most important. Google will show
Right.
different people different things. So is the phone ringing? Is it not? If it's not, okay, then start looking at the other stuff. But you don't need to be Googling yourself every day.
Now, how do you differentiate, let's say, between, for lack of a better term, high-end remodeler versus middle of the road versus the cheap remodeler? Is there a way of defining that on Google about who you're looking for? You're looking for somebody who wants to spend, pick a number, 400 foot versus 150 foot. Is there a way to differentiate yourself that way or not?
Well, there is. That's kind of where branding comes in. Whatever you put on your website, like that's what you're telling Google that you do. And when people come to me and they're like, we only want super high end whole house remodels, we don't even want to talk to anybody with a regular job, like regular project, or we don't want bathrooms. When you're going for that level, you just have to realize that there's not that many people going to Google and searching for a $2 million home remodel. There's
Right.
very few of those. And so you're not going to just do a marketing strategy and get a ton of these people because there aren't that many. And most
Right.
of those level of clients, they are going to find a referral. They're going to work with an architect or a designer.
Right.
So like if you're really going for those kinds of projects, I always push people to like, hey, you should be talking to every architect and designer in your area. They should all know you
Right.
by name. And we can do your website and make your branding really call out to these types of people. But those really good projects are most likely going to come from your network and from referrals. They're not going to come
Right.
from Google.
Well, I know I've helped a lot of people work with architects, and I always say, if you want work from architects, they're going to go to your webpage, and if it's 3 pictures of a bathroom and a living room model, they're not going to want to mess with you
Yeah.
because they're looking at
Yeah.
work from you, and that's not the kind of work they want to get. So they're just going to go, I'm not interested. Where if you have a really nice home you've done, they go, oh, I'd like to get working with this guy. I think marketing to architects is a little different because when they look at you at your website, they determine whether you're somebody they want to get work from or not, just by looking at your website, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like if that's your goal, it might be better to not have a website than to have one that makes you look like someone they don't want to work with.
Right. That's true. In that past, I've said, if an architect looks at your website, make sure they're impressed, because if they're not, you're done. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're trying to work with architects, then you have to look at them like they're your clients. Like, what do they
Right.
want? What are they looking for in a contractor? And be that and speak that language if you want them to work with you.
Right, absolutely. Cool. What do you think is, give me an example of, well, you own a remodeling company. What success have you had and what's worked for you in your remodeling company in Idaho?
You mean marketing wise?
Yeah,
So what I described earlier, really having a good website that shows who we are and having a Google listing that I think we only have 12 reviews. We don't have a ton. Our company's been around for nearly 25 years. So our area happens to be not super competitive. It's getting more competitive as more people move here. But what we have has been enough to get us steady leads all the time. So we ran Google ads one winter, like 6 or 7 years ago, and we got like 3 or 4 bathroom remodels, turned the ads off, got us through the winter. But ever since I figured out just how to be seen on Google Maps, we haven't had to do a whole lot of marketing.
that's a good idea. So, Chuck, if people want to get a hold of you, do you do any kind of like discovery calls so they can find? Because I like the idea that you're actually a remodeler, because a lot of marketing people have never actually done remodeling. So you
Mhm.
have, I think, a competitive advantage in the fact that you've actually done it and you understand the way a remodeling company works because you own one. So if they want to talk to you, how do they reach you and do any kind of discovery call? How can they find out about you?
Sure. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Chuck the Contractor. Our website is adaptdigitalsolutions.com. Both of those avenues will lead you to ways that you can inquire about having a conversation. I have 2 really awesome salespeople that help me take everyone in and kind of figure out where they're at. And I do offer a marketing audit and consultation service for, it could be if you already have some things going on, you're trying to figure out how well is this working and what else can I do and how do we piece it together. Or if you're just getting started and you just need someone to help you pick a path, then that's what we have. But reach out to us, like we're here to help. So if you're willing to come talk to us, we'll find a way to help you.
So if you're looking for a marketing company that actually does remodeling, you're the choice, right?
Yeah, I'd say we're a good choice.
That's cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Chuck. I appreciate you being here. And again, one more time on how people get in touch with you.
So go to adaptdigitalsolutions.com. You could type that into Google. You'll see my face on the homepage. If you're listening to this and you don't see my face, adaptdigitalsolutions.com.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks, Chuck. I appreciate being here. And it's nice to talk to a marketing guy that actually has a remodeling company. That's really unusual.
Cool. Well, thank you, Paul. It's been good. It's been fun.